I was 32, a software engineer living in Seattle, married to Amanda for 3 years. We had no kids, just each other, our careers, and what I thought was a happy life. That day started like any other. I was coding in my home office when our smart speaker system accidentally connected to Amanda's phone. That's how I heard my wife laughing with her mother, Diane. My blood ran cold when Amanda said Jason is a big joke in bed. Everything I thought I knew about our marriage shattered in that moment. If you're watching this, drop a comment letting me know where you're tuning in from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever had your trust broken. Stick around to see how I rebuilt my life after discovering the painful truth about my marriage. Amanda and I met at the tech startup where we both worked. I was developing back-end systems while she managed client relationships. From the first project we collaborated on, there was an undeniable chemistry. Her bright smile and quick wit captivated me. After 6 months of dating, I knew she was the one. Our wedding was small but beautiful. Just close friends and family at a lakeside venue outside Seattle. Amanda's mother, Diane, seemed supportive, always complimenting what a good match we were. I worked hard to impress my mother-in-law, helping with home repairs at her place, and always bringing thoughtful gifts when we visited. The first 3 years of marriage had their ups and downs, but nothing unusual. We bought a comfortable house in a nice neighborhood. I advanced in my career, often putting in extra hours to secure our financial future. Amanda excelled in her role too, earning recognition and bonuses that allowed us to take nice vacations. From the outside looking in, we were the perfect couple. Amanda and Diane were incredibly close. They spoke daily, sometimes multiple times. They had regular spa days and shopping trips. I encouraged their relationship, believing family connections were important. I never felt threatened by their closeness or excluded from their bond. When Diane visited, I made sure to cook her favorite meals and make her feel welcome in our home. Our intimacy had never been a concern in my mind. We were both busy professionals, so our love life wasn't as frequent as during our dating days, but I thought it was satisfying for both of us. Amanda never indicated otherwise. She never suggested trying new things or expressed any dissatisfaction. When we were together, she seemed engaged and content. At least that's what I believed. The day everything changed was an ordinary Tuesday. I was working from home, focused on debugging a difficult piece of code. Amanda was in the living room, supposedly reviewing client proposals. Our smart home system sometimes had glitches where devices would connect to each other unexpectedly. This time, that technological error revealed a devastating truth. I heard Amanda's voice suddenly coming through my office speaker. She was on the phone, her tone lighthearted and casual. I was about to call out to let her know about the connection when I heard my name. Something in her tone made me pause. She was talking to Diane. "Honestly, Mom, Jason is a big joke in bed," Amanda said, laughing. I sat frozen, unable to process what I was hearing. It's like Hez completely clueless about what a woman needs. He thinks 5 minutes is a marathon. Diane laughed loudly. "Well, honey, at least Hez good with computers. Some men aren't good at anything." I could feel my face burning, my chest tightening as they continued. Amanda described in humiliating detail what she considered my shortcomings, comparing me unfavorably to her ex-boyfriend. "You know what Brad used to do?" Amanda continued, launching into explicit comparisons that cut me to my core. "Have you thought about looking elsewhere for satisfaction?" Diane asked. "Plenty of women do. Your father never knew about Richard from my tennis club." "Actually," Amanda replied, lowering her voice slightly, "there's this guy at work, Thomas. He makes it pretty clear he'd be interested. We've been texting a bit." My fingers hovered over the keyboard, completely numb. The code on my screen blurred as my eyes filled with tears. Everything I thought I knew about my marriage, my wife, and our relationship with her mother was built on lies. "You deserve to be happy, sweetheart," Diane said. "Jason doesn't need to know. Men like him are too absorbed in their work to notice anyway." I disconnected the speaker before I could hear Amanda's response. I sat in silence, replaying the conversation in my mind, wondering how many other discussions like this had occurred. How long had I been a joke to them? How long had Amanda been considering cheating, or worse, already cheating? That night I couldn't sleep. I lay beside Amanda, studying her peaceful face in the darkness, searching for signs of the woman who would humiliate me so casually. Every memory of our intimate moments now felt tainted. Every expression of pleasure from her now questioned as performance. Had anything in our marriage been real? I scrolled through mental images of family gatherings, dinners with Diane, casual conversations. Had there been knowing looks between mother and daughter that I missed? Subtle jokes at my expense? Signs that I was the outsider, the fool in their private comedy? The sun rose on a different man than the one who had gone to bed the night before. A man who now questioned everything, who felt hollow and betrayed. A man who realized he needed to start paying much closer attention to his marriage. In the days that followed, I maintained a facade of normalcy. I kissed Amanda goodbye in the mornings, asked about her day in the evenings, and pretended that my world hadn't been shattered. Behind this mask, I was observing everything with new eyes. I noticed how Amanda rarely initiated affection, how she checked her phone, constantly angling the screen away from me, how she had started working late more frequently. All these signs had been there, but I'd been too trusting, too absorbed in my own work to see them. One evening while Amanda was showering, I did something I never thought I would do. I checked her phone. The passcode was her birthday, something I knew she should have changed for security reasons. I had mentioned it multiple times. Now I was grateful for her carelessness. The text messages with Thomas confirmed my fears. They weren't explicitly planning an affair, but the flirtation was obvious. Inside jokes, complaints about me, suggestions of drinks after work. The most recent message from him read, "Miss your smile today. Lunch tomorrow,